Yeah, Jordan's in the house. Come on, get up. We're sitting here like this.
All right, this is episode 2. Now, we're halfway through as many episodes as I did when I tried to do this on my own. So this is a major accomplishment. We're getting stuff done. Season 2, episode 2. Yeah. I'm Dr. Jordan Smith, and welcome to the Legacy series of the Teach, Lead, and Inspire. And this show is personal. It's kind of rooted in real life, in real jokes. We're not Kevin Hart, not Dave Chappelle, but that's okay. We're the Jordans, okay? So, so we're kind of delighted.
Right.
We designed this program for real men who want to lead better and live longer and leave a legacy. And I'm with my son here, Jordan III. Why don't you introduce yourself, Jordan?
Hey, what's going on? My name, of course, is Jordan as well. I'm Jordan III, Army veteran, husband, and father. Me and my dad wanted to do something a little bit different and something that we could leave behind, not just for our future generations, but for other future generations.
Yeah, so this is a call to action for men of color, veterans, fathers, educators, all those who spent their lives putting others first and now want to rebuild from the inside out. So each episode is going to be crafted with the basic foundation of teach, lead, and inspire, with lessons about wellness, entrepreneurship, family leadership, and financial freedom. And we're not experts, but we're just going to try to impart or impress you a little bit. But really, we're just men who lived through it. And we just want to share what we've learned so others don't have to go through it alone. So if you're ready to reset your health, reclaim your voice, and rewrite your own story, I'd like to welcome you to the tribe. Yeah, man. So we're going to begin. We're going to talk about the talk. Now, I'm going to ask you, so now when I just said the talk, what did you think of, Jordan?
The birds and the bees?
Yeah, I don't know. We talk about the birds and the bees, but we're gonna slide that down for a little bit. But you're right. Birds and the bees. Yeah, I did that. I never had that birds and the bees talk from my parents. Okay, my dad didn't do anything. My mom. Oh no, no. Okay, so my mom, your grandma, she kind of passed away, but mom, she did tell me one thing. She said she just told me to always make sure I go pee afterwards. And I said,
Right.
pee after what?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was so naive back then. Oh Lord. I didn't know anything about anything. After what? That's what I had to say.
Exactly.
No,
Exactly.
but the talk is something that's kind of deeply significant, and most times it's a painful conversation that many Black, Latino, Indigenous, and other people of color, feel compelled to have these conversations, especially with their sons, about how
Most
to
that.
interact safely with the police. And now in 2025, with everything else, sometimes I know I was telling the wife I was sitting there and I was seeing stuff that was going on on TV, about ICE and everything else. I said, but in this case, I said, I was feeling a little bit comfortable because it wasn't talking about a Black man. It wasn't a Black man.
One time I'm picking us up for once.
Yeah, I can walk down the street. I don't know, but see, I'm a little bit lighter, so I may pass for both. So I
was gonna say you might have to make sure you got your ID on you. They might pull you over and be like, hey.
Yeah, especially
your last name Ramirez?
Especially he's driving in a Cadillac. I don't know, man.
But shoot, they probably think you cartel at that point.
Oh yeah, I know. Montel Williams, remember him? Yeah, I paid this way from the academy too as well. But now that talk typically covers, it says about how to behave during police encounters. So what were you told? Because I didn't have the talk with you. So the question that your mom give you that, or who gave you that talk?
I basically didn't necessarily have a talk with anybody. Just from where I lived and the neighborhood I was in and the kind of things that transpired around me because of my family, I already was just wary of the police. Well before someone had to tell me, oh, you're a young black man, you know what I'm saying? You got to worry about your interactions with the police and how they go down. Because I'm from originally Kinloch and Ferguson, Missouri, and Jennings, Missouri, and I grew up in all of these areas where interactions with young black men and the police were a common thing that always happened and was always on the news and was always in the papers. I already knew you don't want to mess with the police if you're a young black male. You want to avoid them as much as possible. And if you do have an interaction with them, 9 times out of 10, just do whatever they say so you can make it home safe.
Yeah.
And then that was even more prevalent once I started driving, because I remember us as young teenagers, and I wasn't even driving, I was in the back seat. And I remember us being pulled over and receiving the phone book and billy club treatment because we had took a wrong turn in this neighborhood and was in a neighborhood that we didn't have no business being in, that we didn't belong to. Okay. But mind you, this was a neighborhood that was in the same school district that I went to school in, that you said we didn't belong. But yet, if it meant you getting funding, you were fine with us coming to your school, but we better be gone once the sun goes down.
The sun goes down. Yeah, I know. So some of the common things that concerning with the police, and some of you kind of counted on, is that when you get pulled over, it says keep your hands visible. In other words, put your hands on that steering wheel. And it says don't make any moves. So put your hands on there and freeze. Look straight forward. Don't be looking around. Just freeze and look straight forward. And it says always be respectful. Now, for myself, growing up, really was after I went to the academy. See, because when I was growing up, my parents never ever said this thing about this drilling in the yes sir or the no sir. Okay, there were things we did because of expected, but I never got chastised or instructed my parents. It was just something that I did, especially because I went to the military school, and then I'm always saying yes sir, no sir. Okay, but I did that at school. But when I came home, I didn't do that. It was just dad, or mom. That was it. When I went to Annapolis and I came back after 6 months, my first vacation. So they dropped me off in the middle of the summer, and I was able to come home for that first Christmas. I came home for that first Christmas vacation. I'm sitting at the kitchen table, sitting up there all rigid and everything else. We were sitting at the table, and I said, pass the salt, ma'am. And my dad looked like this, what? And then I asked my dad, my dad asked me something. I said, yes, sir. And I said, no, sir. My mom started crying. She started crying. She said, what have they done to my baby? And my dad was laughing. He said, they done made a man out of this boy. So we always had to ask, if you're being stopped, ask for permission before reaching for anything. And then it says, what do you do if you pulled over or stopped? It says, as you said, you're going to comply with the instruction. You're going to let them know what you're doing before doing it. In other words, you got your hands on the steering wheel.
Like, I'm reaching for my wallet.
I have, like he says,
wallet is in my right pocket.
Right.
I'm reaching for my, you know what I'm saying? Insurance and registration is, it's in the glove box. Oh yeah. So for me, I already knew to do those things instinctively, just from other interactions that I had already been a part of. So I can honestly say I've never had, for me personally, driving a bad experience, because I do follow those rules. I do those things. And I even take it one step further. For me, I have the advantage, in a sense, of also having a military ID and a concealed carry as well, which in turn, when I get pulled over, I hand them all three. Right. So they know, oh, he's one of the good ones, as they want to perceive, or, oh, all right, he's a stand-up person. He's actually complying. He's not making any sudden moves. He's not doing this and he's not doing that. But the backside or the flip side to that is just because of the color of my skin, I shouldn't have to do all of these things. When I constantly see videos and movies and shows of other things that are showing me people of other skin colors doing the most, and they're still making it home.
Yeah. Usually.
Whereas if I do anything slightly wrong or deviate from what that person that is coming to, you know what I'm saying, make that stop deems, you know, I might not make it home. So I have to, two hands on the steering wheel. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Whatever the case may be. And dictate my movements, like you said, accordingly. I have to ask for permission. As a 49-year-old man, I have to ask for permission from someone whose salary I pay that technically may or may not have been pulling me over for something that I actually did, but they may just be pulling me over because they say, oh, there's a black dude in a nice car in this neighborhood. What is he doing here? Well, guess what? Joke's on you, buddy. I'm 49 years old now. I actually own a home in this neighborhood, sir. Yeah. Everyone in the community knows me, to include the mayor. I'm not the black person you need to be trying to stop or circle the block on when I'm walking my neighborhood.
Now, you mentioned also about going into the military. So I was an officer, and you would think, because on the cars, so on all military cars, you could tell somebody's in the military because we got that sticker, you know, on your driver's side. And we know distinctively because of the color what that person is. So if it's a black, it's normally a civilian. If it's a red, that means they're enlisted. If it's a blue, that means it's an officer. So it's very clear. Okay, so you would think, because if a cop came to stop and pull you over, that they're looking at that dashboard, because it sticks up there. You cannot not miss that pass. But that would do something different because you are a veteran or you in the armed forces, you have a government ID, and that really sometimes still doesn't even work. Because I know my Uncle Kenny, my brother got pulled over because he, quote, looked like a black individual that had did a robbery in the area, and they pulled him over. And he's up or down. He was a captain in the Air Force, a pilot, a fighter pilot.
Uncle Kenny stayed clean cut too. He stays clean cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. He looked like an accountant.
That's why the reason I don't wear any cornrows.
Look like an accountant.
Well, but
see, that's the main reason why, for the longest time, I did the exact same as you. Yeah. I wanted to try to make myself look like someone that wouldn't be considered a threat or wouldn't be considered a person that was of suspicion. But then I realized it didn't matter what my facial hair was, what the hair on my head was, just the color of my skin in certain situations made me a person of suspicion or someone that fits the description, even to the point where people would casually try to make statements or say things. And you know me, I'm a comedian at heart. I'm going to make a joke out of it and turn it back on you. You know, like there was a situation where one time this lady was going in the same direction as me. I was behind her a few steps or whatever, but we're both going to the parking lot of that's behind this building. And she's trying to make a joke. Oh, you're not going to rob me, are you? And I looked at her and I was just like, no, ma'am. I was like, that's funny though. And then I hit the remote on my to my Mercedes C63 AMG as she's walking off to her Kia.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So.
Like, no, I do everything the right way. I am not, you know what I'm saying, that type of individual. You know, I understand that I might look rough, gruff, and the tattoos and everything else, but that's because I made a conscious decision a long time ago that if society was going to view me as a quote unquote monkey, I was going to be this gorilla. I was going to be this entity this silverback that you didn't know whether or not I really was the person you sees in the movies or on the TV shows, or if I was really just a nice guy. Because at the end of the day, it became a defense mechanism that I didn't want you to get to know me. I didn't want you to get too close to me because I didn't know what your ulterior motives were. I didn't know who you truly were. So why even take that risk? I'm gonna be this most highest version of what you are scared of. But at the same time, once you interact with them, you realize, oh no, wait, he's actually educated. He's actually smart. Oh, this is just an act that he's putting on. Because yeah, why not? So then that way, when you realize, oh no, that's not who he is, you're the one that looks like the fool. And I understood finally what you were trying to tell me as a child when we had that conversation that time.
Oh,
I got it.
oh, that conversation. Okay, yeah, I think I better share that conversation. I think it's kind of fitting up in here now. So let's just say that my son Jordan the third got into a little trouble. I'll put it that way. And so he came to stay with his father. I got that strange call. So anyone that understands situations when you get when the parents divorce and everything else, they stay with the mother or stay with the father anyway. So he was staying with mom, but mom called me up and she said I need to take him for a while. So I said okay. So we did, and I asked her what he done, but she didn't explain it to me exactly. So I said, I don't care. He's my son. All right. So he came up. But because of the nature of it, I decided that we were gonna have a talk. So and that talk that I did have with him was concerning things. I wanted to make sure that he understood. He was in a different he was in a different place, but also there was a way that I expected him to to act, but I needed to show it to him by story. And because I was a teacher, I'm always going to tell a story. So this story I told him was that, all right, so let's take this situation now. Here's the scenario. You and your buddies are at the mall and you're walking across the mall. You guys just got out the car, just going to go out to the mall and hang out, get some food, get some grub and stuff. Y'all going up there walking. And as y'all up there walking, then there's this car is full with these white kids. And they're up there giving you that look. And you know what that look is. We all know what that look is when they look at you like that. Okay. And then the next thing you know, they're getting out the car and one of them's really nasty. And so he hollers out the N word. He says, hey nigga. And then so the question is, when he does that, I asked my son, I said, so what you gonna do? And my son says, I'm gonna turn around, I'm gonna kick their ass. And I said, and I'm up there thinking, because I was expecting that's what he was gonna say at that time. And I said, so you go kick his ass, okay? And then when I said, now somebody's gonna probably call the police. He says, yeah, I know. He says, so my next question is now, when the police come, who are they gonna arrest? You or him? He said, oh, they're probably gonna arrest me because I'm black. I said, exactly. And then he looked at it, I said, I said, would you like to know a different approach? And he says, yeah, what? So I said, well, I'm going to keep walking. And I remember you looking at me like, wait a minute, my dad's a Marine and they called him the N word and he's just going to keep walking? How's that going to work? And I looked at it, I said, I know you kind of puzzled and everything else. I said, but the thing is, if I keep walking and he keeps saying, hey nigger, he keep doing that, I understand because I'm an educated black man that the word nigger is associated with somebody who's an ignorant fool. So the question is, who's the ignorant fool now? Me walking with my buddies going into the mall, or this racist fool over here saying, hey nigger, all across the damn thing. So guess what?
Yep.
He's the ignorant fool. That's why I kept walking. And the other thing is, ain't no cops coming to put me in jail. There's certain things I will stand and fight on. But that was the thing. But you know what? It wasn't just confined here on the way that we act or those stereotypes. I ran into the same thing when I was in Japan. So when I was in Japan, if you ask Japanese people, or unless you are black and you wearing a military uniform, now they know that you're a Marine or something. Okay, that's a little bit okay.
They're like,
But
all right, you're a little bit
if you're
better.
wearing your regular civilian clothes and you're black, a total different atmosphere. Okay,
Oh
so I
yeah.
used to drive my car going from when I went over to Japan for a little bit, and I was selling insurance and having to drive 3 hours from Gotemba all the way to Yokohama City. One night I was driving coming up, and these are all these little rural towns and stuff. My car broke down. Okay. And I'm on the side of the road. I mean, it just conked out. And I'm on the
Hmm.
side of the road here. I didn't speak fluent Japanese. I spoke a little bit. The only Japanese I knew was the Japanese lyrics to the songs that I would sing. But I'm on the side, and not anyone stopped by to help me
Yeah, of course not.
because they were scared of this black guy, this American who couldn't speak Japanese on the side of the road. I mean, I would be there and people would see me. They'd be coming down the street. They'd walk across the street to the other side of the road to avoid me.
Oh, yeah.
And I was stuck. This was before cell phones. So I didn't have a cell phone. And then so it was like I was out there for a couple hours, couldn't get anything done. So I decided to start walking. When I started walking, then I saw some auto repair shops. So I said, okay. I said, well, I guess I'm gonna sleep in my car and I'll wait until the morning because I can't get nobody to help me. And I wind up getting bored and I got in my car and walked down the street. There was a little Japanese bar in there. And all the Japanese bars had karaoke. And so I
Right.
had my little karaoke book. So I go in and I said, okay, I had a little money and I didn't have enough to get my car and everything back home. But I went in there and I would have a drink, and then they always like Americans so they can try their English on. And so
Mhm.
I started going in and I sang a song. And so I can sing. So that's why I really started singing in Japan. So I would get up and sing a Japanese song, and all of a sudden, all the guys up in there, people were loving me now because I'm actually singing a song, and now they want to learn how to sing an English song. We're doing, and finally the bartender asked me, "What are you doing here?" And I said, my car's broke down and nobody will help me. Right next to me was a guy who owned the auto repair shop across the street. All
Nice.
of a sudden, he says, show me your car. So I went to show him my car. You know, put the hood up and everything else. He took a look, did everything else. Next thing you know, he took a fuse out and removed it and put it. He took one fuse out, saw it was busted, took the other fuse out and put it in there, and my car started up.
Nice.
So if it wasn't for the fact that I had taken the time and effort about learning their language or to sing their song, I was able to break down the barriers through my music by singing for them to overlook the fact that I was black and all of a sudden I was not dead. And we laughed about the things because they talked about all the movies. See, they connected how black men act by how black men were portrayed in the movies
Yep.
that they were seeing in the movie theaters, or in that case, the video stores.
I mean, but that's the same thing here. They're, you know, people are reacting to what's either been told to them that was passed down, or either what they saw in some movie or some TV show or some ghetto video clip now that they saw online. So their perception is the same. It's because of what they're visually seeing, not because of who they've had the chance to interact with. And I've even made friends throughout the years that have openly said that, hey, I didn't know that, you guys were cool. Like legitimately, I was told this, I was taught this, I only saw this. And then they meet me and they're just like, but damn it, they're like, that's not, what I'm saying, you. And I'm just like, yeah, really? I could have told you that. You know, does anyone have the propensity to do something negative or something violent? Yes, we are human beings. But just because of the color of your skin does not necessarily mean that you are more prone to doing something of said nature. What makes you more prone to doing something violent or negative in nature is typically upbringing, environment, and opportunity or over necessity. Those are the things that normally lead people to do the nasty negative things that they say that only people of color do. Because people of every color do really bad things, whether it's to each other or to other people or even inside of their communities. It's just that we tend to only be the ones that are always constantly vilified for it, to the point where they even have memes calling us, what is it? Oh, that's just typical 13 behavior. That's typical 13% behavior. You know what I'm saying? That's just another 13%er. Well, last time I checked, I'm outside of that freaking sniper we had a few years back. The majority of your serial killers and snipers and mass murderers aren't typically people of color.
That's
typically.
That's right.
So it's one of those situations where it's like, you want to try to call a spade a spade. A killer is a killer. Someone doing something nasty is someone doing something nasty. It doesn't matter the color of their skin. If they're a bad person, they're just a bad person. Yeah. So let's just accept it for what it is. There are bad people in every demographic. You got good people in every demographic. And let's just leave it at that, instead of trying to say, oh, this person is doing more than that person, and that person doing more than that person. Like I said, it's not because of the color of their skin. It's because of their situation, the dynamics, and how they're growing up. Because if things were flipped, and there was actually a movie about this years and years ago called White Man's Burden, I believe it was the film, where they actually did that concept, where they took a society, instead of it being a society run by white and Europeans, it was run by Blacks and African Americans. Mm-hmm. So they were the cops, they were the mayors, they were the presidents, they were the store owners, they were the ones in charge. And they treated John Travolta like he was a regular black man. Mm. And people don't want to talk about that movie because it opened a lot of eyes. Yeah. And they were just like, oh yeah, we can't talk about this. We got to hide this film. Let's not. Yeah, we don't need to see this representation of what we're actually doing to them,
Well, they also had a couple other movies. I remember one film, it's called Black Like Me, Switching Roles. There was another one about the Klan, where the black police officer.
Oh yeah, the Black Klansman.
Yeah, Black Klansman. Well, he's up there acting white, but he couldn't do it in person, but he could do it on the phone and stuff. So we found, that talk kind of typically covers areas about how to respond to racism and profiling. And so we've had to recognize that you may be seen as a threat regardless of our actions, but we need to be able to prioritize staying alive and being safe in the moment over being right. And sometimes that's difficult. And in today's world, now we can document things about using the phone, but just the yesterday, when I was sitting down after coming on the road for 12, 13 hours, when they were talking about these ICE raids and everything else going on with the increments, the first thing they're telling them to do is put their phones down. Sometimes they're right.
So they can't record.
Yeah. And in their case,
they don't want the evidence.
Yeah, the evidence is, but the other thing is really, you're talking about how do we get to this situation? Well, that's actually maybe two sides to the coin. See, the one side of the coin, I give an example. So for your brothers, their mom is Japanese. So when I came over to Japan, when we got married, in order to bring her back to the United States, I had to go through this immigration and visa process.
Right.
So so when she came back, she had a green card, which means she was legally here, recognized by the State Department and stuff. And then you have to go through the procedure of renewing that and having that done. In this case, you got people that came across the border illegally. And I understand all the reasons for them wanting to come, because I've already been down to Mexico and Tijuana, and I wouldn't be living in that place. But the fact is, all these years, the system was broke. They would come over, they would go through the process, the system would let them out and tell them to be back. And they full intended in the very beginning of coming back, but then they would come back and it would be so crowded, and they would give them another court date. They say, come back. And eventually some of them just didn't come back. And then they found out that nobody was chasing them. So then that became the game. They said, come on over, You're going to play the little game. They're going to let you go, and then don't worry about coming back because they're not going to follow you. That's how we get all
Yep.
these people illegal in our country
Oh yeah.
because the system was broke. And but now what they're doing is acting on it. So you're right. So what ICE is doing, they're picking up someone who is in here illegally. But unfortunately, it's kind of segregated because
Hmm.
I don't see them pulling over and handcuffing anybody that was of the white European immigrants that came here illegally that are still here. Okay. I don't see
Or
that.
the Middle Eastern ones that came
Um,
over illegally.
right. I don't see anybody Russian.
No,
Yeah.
but if you're brown,
Yeah, if you
you're
brown,
likely to be found.
yeah, brown, you likely to be found. Absolutely right. That's exactly what's going on there. Okay, so
So,
all right, so
so all I have to say is this to all of my brown brothers and sisters out there that were like to be online talking negatively and talking smack about their black brothers and sisters. How's it feel? How's it feel? I'm just curious, you know what I'm saying? Inquiring minds want to know. How's it feel? All right, but yeah.
so you have not all police are white and not all
Yep,
police are prejudiced. Okay, and so you do have good which are out there. It's just that the reality that people of color are just disproportionately stopped, searched, and harmed in law enforcement encounters. So it's been a necessity. It's like a form of protective parenting that we must have that survival conversation with men,
definitely.
you know, and it's meant to prepare them for the world where the bias can have a life or death situation. And but it's an emotional preparation. We were able to talk about, and that's again the reason why we're having this show is to have these conversations and have the show be a platform that if you're a parent and you have not had that talk or that conversation, then you can tune them in to this podcast and this episode, which is episode 2, which has now been redefined as the talk. And
Right.
we're going to do the other talk, and I'm going to move that to episode 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
I think we've
Oh,
covered this one
now,
really good. So, parents,
Dad,
yeah.
I do have one more story from
Oh,
experience.
oh no, go ahead.
Uh,
Go ahead.
all right, so this is when I was in the military.
Mhm.
Me and Misty had actually been married like maybe it was less than a year that we had been married. And we were renting this apartment in this little town called Carthage, New York. And I remember I had decided to walk to the little store down there, the little country mart or whatever. And normally I didn't go out after hours. I normally would, once it got dark, I stayed in. But I figured it's not that far, I'm gonna walk. And I noticed the cruiser just kind of parked off to the side. And as soon as he realized, oh, there's a black man walking down the street, he starts following me to the point to where he sees me walking to the store. He parks outside, waits for me to exit the store. And right before I get back to the door to lead into my building to go to my apartment, he flips the lights.
Hmm.
Now, mind you, all I just did was just walk to the store. But I'm a black man walking after hours in Carthage, and he had to see what that was about. And then once he got up closer and he realized that I was a soldier, number one, tell by the haircut at the time, number one. Number two, I actually had on uh little like Nike, jacket, but up under that I had on my Army PT shirt, and just so happened that my dog tags were hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
If it hadn't been for that, I don't know what that altercation could have potentially ended like.
Yeah.
Um, Once he realized that I was a soldier, he was like, "Oh, so where you going?" I was like, "I'm going home." He was like, "Wait, where do you live?" I was like, "I live right here. You want to see me unlock my door?" Yeah. And I had to do the most, even though he knew I was a soldier. I still had to show him, yeah, no, I'm right where I'm supposed to be at. These are my keys. I rent the apartment above the jewelry store. And then he was taken back by that too, because I guess the people that owned the jewelry store and renting the apartment normally didn't like black people. So I guess once he realized he assumed I was safe.
Right.
But it's still like, why follow me to the store? Why follow me home? Why follow me down the street? Why follow me anywhere? You know, literally in some neighborhoods, just because of the color of your skin, it might not even be safe to walk, let alone drive or operate a motor vehicle. So
I remember I used to also have my pet peeve. I put it this way. You know, whether right or wrong, that was how I was kind of brought up from my parents. Like one of the things that when the street light comes on, it's time for him to
yep.
be inside. That's one of the things. I remember when my dad told me don't pick up and throw a rock, and I made the mistake of did it. And when he saw me throw it at the wrong time, and then I got that belt on my butt. But that, you know, I learned that time about not doing those things. There were things that we learned by experience, and
yeah,
and we all have that talk, no matter what. When I went in the Marine Corps, what happened? You had to boot camp, and the first thing they do, they're going to give you a talk of what you can do and what you should not do, and how to be successful.
Oh
Always.
shoot! Wait! Speaking of the military and talks, I can't remember which gate it is, but there's a gate outside of Fort Polk, Louisiana, that if you are of color, you do not leave out of.
Okay.
You don't go through that gate, because that town that is right there, you won't make it back.
Yeah.
And that's still to this day, to my knowledge. Like I can't make this up. That was one of the briefings you got when you got there was, oh, if you black, yeah, you don't go out back.
Yeah, you don't.
You know what I'm saying? That's freaking basically what it was.
For sure, you don't. So, okay, so we're going to end this episode right here. Okay. And as soon as I end it, then we're going to go ahead and I want to chat a little bit. But this has been good. This is about a talk. So, and as I guess I was mentioning, is that you get parents, if you've not had a talk with your child, your kids, then listen in and show them, because that's other reasons for this. It's for us to have a conversation. I learned, again, something else of their experiences that my son did that I never knew even existed.
That's not, trust Dad, I got more than that. We could do a whole nother episodes of just the times I've had to interact with police, and and some have been positive, but I still got some more negative ones. Because like, Dad, there is nothing more surreal than knowing that you are seen as a threat, than immediately being put in handcuffs as soon as you step out of your front door.
Yeah.
Like, that is the most surreal thing to have ever happened to me, that let me know, oh, wow, I am really deemed as a threat just because of the color of my skin. And just because I am of a decent size. We all know I can look quite menacing at times. It just depends. And I guess I looked so menacing that morning that they immediately put me in. Like, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They were like, turn around, put your hands behind your back. And I'm just like, I just walked out my door. Like, what did I do? Can you tell me what I did?
Yeah.
But it didn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm a big black man. I'm built like a freaking linebacker or a freaking defensive tackle. And so that automatically makes me, I guess, even a bigger threat to them. Plus I'm so nonchalant in my interactions. Like, I'm not scared of them. And I think that is what concerns them the most, is because I don't show fear when I talk to the police or interact with them. I talk to them just like I'm talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that bothers them more so than anything else. Or like, I'll yell at them and flip them off, but I'll never call them out their name. I won't curse at them. And they're just like, who is this entity? To where, like, if anything happens, yes, I'm the guy that they're going to send about 5 or 6 cars every single daggone time. Just because, you know, and then when they first approach, you got any weapons on you today, Mr. Smith? Nah, man. Be like, you sure?
Yeah.
We know you're known to carry firearms.
Yeah, I know. We had that. I do remember telling, well, when we were in California and stuff, and Jared was just in the Navy for a short time, came back on deployment and came back. And I had this rule. I said, all right, now, here's the deal. I said, if you get pulled over from the cops and you get arrested, I'm not bailing you out, and I'm not mortgaging my house to get your ass out of jail. So just let you know that's exactly where I'm coming from. That meant that you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you chose that appointed time to get your butt in trouble. And I work, and I have to get up in the morning, and I'm going to go to sleep. So don't be messing with me. I said that, right? Yeah, that went out. That was like one of those times you're up there joking. Maybe we're having barbecue and everything else, and they're all laughing and stuff. Until one morning, I'm up there sleeping in my house, and I had my Doberman that time. I had my Doberman Tomas, who has his own little cot at the foot of our bed, and
Right.
a Riverside County sheriff had come in my house, come upstairs to the room, open up the door. My Doberman had his head down like this. He looked up and he put it right back down. and, he's flashing the flashlight in the bed, and he says, are you Jordan Smith, the owner of the house? I said, yes, I am. He says, sir, could you come with me for a moment? And I'm looking at what the heck is going on? Because I knew that you had John, you had Jared, you had Jeremy, one of Jared's friends was down there, and a couple of other John's friends were in there, and they were down there because of one of the holidays. So they were down
Gotcha.
there playing dominoes and drinking beer and just eating and stuff. They'd done that before. But this time I come down, I'm still groggy and stuff like that, and I don't hear them. I'm saying, he takes me outside and into my garage, and when I looked in my garage, the garage is like it just been cleaned. I mean, there was no tables or nothing, swept clean and everything. Then I look out the garage, and there they're all sitting with their hands behind their back on the curb. And I'm looking, I'm saying, okay, but then I'm looking, I'm saying, well, one of them's missing. And then I go over to the police car over here, and there's one of my sons inside the back of the car. And I'm saying, all right, so you guys did something. I said, you know my rule, right? Okay, that's all I did. That's all I said. You know my rule. So I go back, and then I started figuring out what happened and everything else. And so I saw there was some other stuff. One of the friends of theirs was up to no good. Yeah, he was
Gotcha.
stupid. He was stupid enough to bring some pot and marijuana when it wasn't legal in my house, and then had the
Mm,
nerve to mouth off to one of my sons. When my sons just said, "You don't do this in my father's house," and he did. He spoke up the wrong way. Needless to say, there was a confrontation there.
yeah, sounds about right.
But so the end result, they took him off, and I'm saying, well, I'm going to sleep. I said, all right, you guys made this mess. You better clean up my house and get the hell out. I go back. Well, then 15 minutes later, the police car comes back, takes the handcuffs off of him, lets him out the door. And because he was a vet, and guess where all these the local police officers were? They were all,
Vets.
and they
Yep.
know that he had a great record. And they said, why are we going to mess with this sailor's record when this other guy
Yep.
was the idiot? He was the idiot. And so, nothing went down, and it was
Yep.
it. But I said, I still have that rule. Um,
Yep.
still have that rule. And that was funny because remember when I called you now, I'm thinking maybe this about, I don't know, 6 months, maybe it was a year. Remember I
Talking about
called
that
you up?
scammer
Yeah,
tried to
about
get
the scam calling
the
me
scammer.
about my
Yeah,
grandson,
I was like,
about
my
me.
dad already knew that wasn't
Yeah,
real. Little
yeah,
Jordan would
yeah,
not call
yeah,
him before he called me.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, they calling me about me bailing out my grandson from jail, and my grandson saying, "Don't tell dad." And I'm saying,
My daggone grandson is a straight arrow. He is straight edge.
I
He
know.
don't drink. He don't do drugs. He don't do altercations. He don't do none of that.
Oh, Lord.
My 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 oldest boy is a model citizen so far in his life.
So I think
He ain't even pushed no little lady down the steps yet.
all right, all right. This has been fun. This is fun. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna call this one is gonna be the talk. So this episode is gonna be the talk. Then the next episode we're gonna do is gonna be the other talk. And what we're gonna do on that one is that we're gonna talk about the inherited health risk. And then we're going to go into that thing about the PSA and that text message I sent, and we're going to go into that, and we're going to do that
That's the
next
thing
episode.
About our community, right? Everything is technically the talk. There's so many different the talks that you could do. Talk one, talk part, do, and keep it going because everything is technically the talk. A talk that needed to be had or should have been had or has to be had on a daily basis, to be quite honest. So
indeed. Well, this has been fun. This has been fun again. Yeah. So
always
looking forward to this next one and everything else. But I'd like to go ahead and tell everybody bye-bye now. This is Dr. Smith and his son, Jordan III. Yeah. Up here doing the talk. These black men, this father-son duet is just making it real for you. All right. It's been fun. Thank you for watching Teach, Lead, and Inspire, the Legacy series. You follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Until next week, this is Dr. Smith on behalf of myself and my son. Welcome to the tribe.
Let's get the check cause I'm up out of here. If you won't change, I won't change. And everything remains the same. And I won't play this losing game. Cause that's what love goes down the drain. Oh, come compromise. Let me give you just a little advice. Love wears such a thin disguise. It should come at no surprise. Come compromise. Once bitten, twice as shy. It's a case of roll the dice. So we should bid and compromise. Compromise? I don't think so. It's not a war, we wanna fight. There ain't the way to put things right. It's not about who's keeping score. Let's talk about it, don't close the door. If you won't change, I won't change. And everything remains the same. And I won't play that losing game. Cause that's what love goes down the drain. Come compromise. Let me give you just a little advice. Love wears such a thin disguise. It should come at no surprise.